Hi friend, we have a new website live, transfieldguide.com. There you can find episodes with show notes, our resource page, and links to both our Amazon wishlist and our PayPal donation. If you'd like to support the show, please consider a one-time or recurring donation. Every penny helps. The information and opinions presented in this podcast are based on research done at a particular point in time. The fields of medicine, surgery, psychology, etc. are constantly evolving as new studies and movements happen. Please take into account the year of any particular episode's publication, and as new information presents itself, we will do our best to release updated episodes on the topics. Listener discretion is advised for references to medical terminology of body parts. Unless otherwise stated, no one speaking on this podcast is a medical or legal professional and cannot provide medical or legal advice. Welcome to the Trans Field Guide. Who wants to start first with kind of telling your experiences with doing drag and how it kind of was the gateway drug to realizing that you're trans?
I'll just keep it short. I was 19 when I did drag for the first time, and I think I did it at my university. And I also had a chance to do some shows over at the Bottom Exchange. I went to school at Trinity University, so that was my first time playing with gender so openly there. And it was very freeing, and it kind of helped me come out and tell people I was most likely a woman, or at least something which was not a man. So it was like a transition from doing that. I'll just start with that and leave it at that for now.
Kitana?
I kind of had a similar experience, I feel, going to college and experiencing the bar scene kind of opened my eyes to the entertainment world of drag and getting inspired by seeing these women on stage and people that were local, and also seeing out of town entertainment that was, these people were famous within our LGBT world. That kind of inspired me to say, you know what, if they can do it, I want to do this. I've loved this stage. This is something I want to do. It's like being part of a secret society. I thought, at the time, and I'm like, it's a way to be famous and do what has to be done. That was pretty much my first exposure to drag, was at the clubs. And then also whenever we did stuff with the university, we had our LGBT prom. That was the first experience too.
Chris?
Well, extending on Kitana's story, her and I went to college together, and our first experience really into the world of drag was I took her to a gay club for the first time. We just decided, hey, we're bored, let's go out and see what's going on at the club. And we went, and we both really appreciated one of the performers there. And later in the year, we became really active in the LGBT clubs and stuff on campus, and decided one of the cool things about the prom is they were going to host a drag show with students. And Kitana did it, and I did it, and Viano did it, and another friend of ours did as well. And it was just kind of interesting for all of us because we were all in that transitional period where we weren't really sure. We were kind of sure, but it allowed us to kind of role play in a safe environment. So we felt like, okay, well, if this doesn't really work, we're not committing to it. That was the thought process. But as we all know, that totally backfires.
So yeah, I can totally back out of this, and then years later, completely the opposite of backed out from it.
It's like, oh, look, it was just practice for now.
Yep. I think my experience was pretty similar. Starting off just going to the clubs, dressed male, and then did the one drag performance with Kitana and Chris, and continued to go to the clubs dressed male.
Well, I think one of the most interesting turning points is past doing the performances is when Kitana and I started to swap clothes.
Yeah.
Because it was more comfortable to be in each other's clothes and felt better, and we looked better. Like, I remember one day we were getting ready to go to the club. We're just like, you know what? For grins, let's swap. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and I'm like, I hate you right now. You look better in my stuff than I do.
I sure remember that fun times. Fun times. And I think that's when we were finding ourselves playing with gender. And we all know at that time, the whole trans movement hadn't even been thought of. It wasn't even a glimmer in anybody's eye type thing. It was just more like, this is how we escape from the quote unquote normal world and we go into our world and everybody's accepting. I mean, I remember going to the club with Chris, and it was very validating, and it was comforting too, because you had people there that were just there to enjoy the night, whether it be the show, whether it be getting drunk, or just whether it be just hanging out with friends. I know for us at the time it was more of a like, let's just go and dance, let's just have a good time.
Yeah.
It was a great feeling. It felt like, oh my gosh, this is finally where I belong. This is where I think feel connected.
And being in that environment where it kind of feels like, to an extent, nobody really gives a damn what you look like. I mean, depending on which club you go to, people give a lot of damns about what you look like. But that's more like whether or not you have some Louis Vuitton going on, and less about whether or not you're wearing a dress. And a lot of it really is centric around having that safe area.
Y'all talked about community. It's definitely true that doing drag did actually help find community for me as well. And it's now like 10 years later, pretty much. And I'm still connected with people who I met at the clubs then. Like a lot of those trans women who you would see someone like a Taryn Taylor or Teresa Matthews, other people. If you see them, a lot of them are so friendly. And it feels good to let someone who's been out longer than you know that them being out inspired you to be able to do what you do for yourself. So it's so important to see other examples. And also for the trans men too, there were some trans men who would compete in competitions like Mr. Gay, Texas, things like that. It was amazing to see them get a chance to do their part too. And some of them pulled away from competing once they transitioned and went on to live their lives. And I'm now reconnecting back to doing drag again since 3 years ago. So I didn't continue through. Like Kitana has had a lot of experience and continuously used her craft and also continue transitioning from what I'm aware of.
I do agree with you, Aamori, about seeing some trans men competing in Mr. Gay, Texas, because prior to that, the exposure to trans men was very, very almost non-existent. Like, as far as my friend group goes, like Kitana said when we were figuring things out, was I won. And now when I look back and, I'd see if there's other people that I can connect to the podcast and refer to Vienna or whatever, it's about half and half now. There's a lot more visibility. It's different than it was when we were first starting out. And I'm very grateful for the support we've had and that we've been friends for so long, been close for so long. And even though it all came from kind of different situations, but it was all connected through a relatively close-knit community.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't know that within this entertainment world, it's hard to maintain your presence. I've heard other entertainers talk about kind of like, yes, for some people it's a career choice. People like Tommy Ross, who have, performing for years. I mean, she's great at what she does. And I'm sure if Erica and Tandy were still alive, they would still be doing this, to this day. But one entertainer told me one time that she goes, this is not something that should last more than 10 years. And she's been entertaining for 20 plus years now, 20 something years. She makes a valid point in saying that outside of our community, a lot of people don't know that sometimes it is a struggle to really keep yourself visible. I think that just comes with like any entertainment kind of aspect. And I think Joan Rivers even said at one point, you have to recreate yourself every few years. Something has to happen. You have to, keep changing. You have to update something has to happen. And of course we always, from what we see in social media, you kind of have to keep with the times. If you're not understanding of social media, you don't know what's going on. That's when I think you lose yourself from the entertainment world. Struggle from time to time, and can admit to that, because some will get a booking and then for some reason, they'll be like, oh, hey, I had to cancel, or something happened with the club. They're remodeling, so the booking was canceled. So you kind of have to think, okay, I was relying on that booking. Now I have to get my shit together. What else do I have to do? Let me start calling people I know. Let me see where else I can get booked. So it is a struggle sometimes. It's a roll of the dice, I feel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, at least in my experience. I mean, here in Corpus, the bar scene here in Corpus is slowly dwindling. I think it has in the past, for those of us that know. What needs to happen in order to maintain that stability? It's just hard sometimes to figure out what to do.
I can't really comment on that because I never got to the pro level of doing drag. Never made any money off of that.
Well, I mean, I didn't either, but I did accompany Kitana, and a lot of times we spent a lot of time out in the scene, and I knew enough people involved that I could see what was going on.
And also, too, with performances, sometimes it is about a paycheck or a career, but other time, from personal experience, you help out your community as well. There's a lot of fundraising shows that happen, like bingos that occur that sometimes, the money will be donated to. And in fact, 2 Sundays ago, there was a drag brunch, the first drag brunch in Corpus, and I was helping backstage some of the entertainers, like Christy Waters was there, Tanika Cavalli, Sasha Starr, Desiree Brooks, Brittany Andrews. It went off really well, and I think there were tables for sale and whatnot, and whatever money that was made that day, they donated it to I believe it was the Human Rights Campaign.
Like this episode? Tell someone about it. Resources referenced in this episode can be found in the show notes at transfieldguide.com. Stay safe, and remember that I'm proud of you.